So lots of good news coming out of C2E2. I don't know if y'all saw that or not.
No, I haven't actually seen any of it.
It's been, I've been like low-key sliding some of it into our Facebook group, but they announced,
I saw some of it.
Yeah, they announced Ultraman. I'm kind of
that's
excited
pretty cool.
about that. You remember Ultraman, right?
Yeah, like how do you mean they've announced it?
Marvel has the property. Marvel is doing a Ultraman comic book.
Got it.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember who the creative team is.
I don't either.
It's kind of cool. Ultraman coming back. Like, that was always kind of a staple. Anyway, how are y'all doing this morning?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Everybody doing okay?
I'm a little tired. I slept like shit last night, but outside of that, I'm okay.
Us kids kept them up all night.
Yeah.
What is this weird voice?
Yeah.
Who is this? I bet we better introduce ourselves, and then we can find out who that is. This is welcome to the 114th episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. As usual, I'm very excited. Caleb Alexander McKenzie,
Matt Trogdon,
Craig Lance,
and who is this? These sultry tones coming through the microphone.
Well, hello, I'm Lily.
Hey, Lily, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Fantastic. Thank you for coming back and sitting in with us again.
Of course.
Love it when you visit. It's always a good time. So for those of you who are new to the show, maybe you're revisiting, maybe you're catching up, whatever you're doing, where you been? This is the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. We are a group of comic book fans, aficionados, lovers of the sequential medium, just all around general nerds from Arkansas who sit around a table on Sunday morning, have a little bit of coffee, or if you're Craig, you have Diet Mountain Dew, and then we talk about funny books. We talk about the comics that we love, just what we're reading, what we're thinking about things. And every once in a while, we get an awesome guest to come join us and sit in, and we have a good time with it. So what we're going to be about today is we're going to talk about a few different books that we're all reading. We all read the same book. With that inherently comes some spoilers. So if obviously we're going to mention the book first because we're not Neanderthals. But if you hear us speak about a book that we're going to dive into and you haven't read that yet and you're going to, just hit the little pause button or go check the show notes because I do put the numbers in there because, we're fancy like that. We'll put the time signatures there. You can skip ahead. That way you get to enjoy it because we know you do. We know you love it. So, and if you want more of it, you know where you can come. Lily, you tell them where they can come to get more of this.
Ooh, okay. So
no pressure.
Right? So Facebook, SFG Podcast. You've got Twitter. I don't know your Twitter handle.
You had it right there. It's at SFG Podcast.
Cool. Same with Instagram.
Same thing.
Or emails if you've got exact questions.
Or comments, concerns, or you want to just talk shit about like us, period. You can just email
you
those
just
to
really
us.
Or want to tell us
there.
that you want Lily on the show permanently or something like that.
Can we we should launch a GoFundMe for her and Zane to get them to move in like somewhere in the area so we have access to her always because she's dear to our hearts and we love her like that.
Oh, thanks guys.
So I've been salty as fuck all weekend.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because you didn't get to go to C2E2.
Because I'm not, the first time in years, I'm not in Chicago during C2E2. But I have been seeing many of the people who listen to the show. Lots of our friends are up there. They're having a great time. Looks like they're being safe and smart. They're buying lots of cool stuff. Rumor has it Artist Alley was a little bit womp 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 this year.
Really?
Yeah. So that's disappointing.
like, how do you mean?
Not as many people buying, not as many people attracting buyers. So it was just kind of it's always going to be fun if you're a guy like me, like you ignore the shuffle of it all. But like artists did not make the money that they normally do. So
I wonder if it's the virus scare.
That was part of,
because that's definitely being talked about.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, don't shake my hand.
Yeah.
So fist bumps
I would
for freedom.
definitely have a bottle of Purell sitting on my table.
I mean, that's just generally good life advice. Yeah. At a con, anywhere. Yeah. But
we need to, for our next show, have a bottle of Purell.
I want to get like a 55-gallon drum with a pump sprayer. Like that's going to be... Actually, no. So
Would it be easier if we all had our own bubbles?
Yes.
This is actually
wrap us in bubble wrap.
It's the perfect time to do Ghostbusters cosplay because that's exactly what you do. You just turn the backpack into a pump sprayer with Germex and you just hose people down as you walk through.
Great. Now I have to get another one.
So, all right, let's get into this, guys. I'm curious about what you guys have been reading this week, just to get a little bit of a taste of where we are, what pulls us in, and we're gentlemen, so we'll start with our guest, Lily. Drop a short stack on us first thing this morning.
Yes, so I've been reading Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey #1. It's from Black Label. It's Connor and Palmiotti, which has me so excited. That is my favorite for Harley, like that favorite combination. And it's got Paul Mounts as the artist. And it's really fun. It opened up with a dream sequence with Superman. It was just this whole great thing that happened, and then it got super depressing because it's Harley, and she hasn't paid rent. So, yes.
I love Lily's excitement for Harley Quinn.
Well, it's so fun, and it's lighthearted, but it's also like there's people in hospitals because
it's Harley Quinn.
It's Harley. So
before you move on to the second one, have you seen Birds of Prey yet?
Not yet.
Not yet? Oh,
so it came out right at Valentine's Day, and I'm a florist, so that was Death Week. And so just haven't had the chance to get back to the theaters.
Excuse me, ma'am, you're an award-winning florist.
Oh, yes, I am. I do have a fancy certificate and medal and everything. It's great.
Well,
nice.
Go see. I saw it and I loved it. So.
Oh yes, I'm very excited to go see that. Maybe that's what Zane and I will do.
Should
the rest of this weekend. We'll see.
Yeah,
it's not that long of a movie. It won't take you the whole rest of the weekend.
Okay, cool. As long as I don't have to spend the night at a theater.
It's like a 3-hour commitment max.
I've also read Harleen #1. They just came out with that in the hardback format, the 3 issues. So I finished the first one of that. It had a really cool callback that almost felt like the Killing Joke in there. There was a line about the Joker saying, "We're all monsters in a civilized cage," and that felt like the madness is just the emergency exit line that Joker has in Killing Joke. So that was a fun little bit that I picked up in that. And then Blackbird #1. This is from 2018 from Image.
It was a fantastic series.
I didn't read it.
Zane had really been loving it, so I picked that up from him. It's got Jen Bartel as the artist, so it's just absolutely gorgeous. Sam Humphries as the writer. It's very magic, and it's really fast-paced, but the bright colors just keep you in the story. So if you're liking a little bit of magic or need some bright colors in your life, I'd go pick up Blackbird.
I can co-sign that book. It's really good.
You love this book, and I think Jerry
loved it. Jerry talked about
book.
every issue of it, I think.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. I got to co-sign Craig. It's always fun when you start talking about Harley because you can just see how much you love that character. Just get all giddy. Well, I read a couple of different things that just really...
Introduction to Law 101 and
Introduction to Law.
I've already had that. No, I broke this week and got so tired of school I just didn't. Lots of law reading always, but I got to read some cool comics that really motivated me to stirred my inner happy child.
Was it Avengers #31?
It was not. That is on the end of my stack. I have not made the choice to read that yet, and it will be a choice whether I do or not for reasons. But I will read it because I'm an Avengers mark and I read everything. I
knew it.
Avengers, but
it just took getting that guy in the right book to get Caleb to read a book.
I'm not gonna like it. I'm just,
I will say the art's not bad in it. It's not as bad as you would expect. Let's digress and go back to your short.
It's Kudaransky, so it's not going to be good or enjoyable.
But you'll read it.
He'll hate read it.
Why do you do this to me, Marvel and Matt?
Unlike annuals, I just won't read them. See, I make my stance.
Boo. Oh man. All right, so this week I read a little OGN action that was really excited about. It's been sitting on my little side table stack for about a month now, but it is called Loud, and it's by Maria Lovett, who you might know as the artist from Faithless with Brian Azzarello. I fell in love.
Heartbeat.
Yeah, and Heartbeat, which I have not read yet, and I need to. I fell in love with her art style. She was one of my favorite books of last year. This book is almost completely, I'd say 93% a silent book. Really? So imagine that you walk in, you know how you walk into a bar or a nightclub and all the music is thumpa and you can't hear what people are saying? That's what this book does. This book takes place completely in a strip club. And it's silent because in those places, the music and everything, the hustle and bustle is so loud that you don't know what people are saying. So you have to let the art tell the story. And Jesus Christ, is it a story? But I'm going to talk about it on the show at a different time. So
I may have to borrow that from you.
Oh, it's good.
I love Maria Lovett.
Yeah,
so.
I have it with me. No, I don't have it with me today, but I will get it to you. And I am going to talk about it on a future show. So look forward to that. In the middle of my short stack, I've got a little Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action, which my inner 90s kid just loves. This is by Ryan Parrott and Simone DeMeo. Yeah, dude, it's crossovers with the Turtles and the Power Rangers. And spoiler warning, Shredder gets a hold of the Green Ranger's powers, and it's amazing. And it's brutal, and it's everything you want in that crossover series. So check that out. And
correction, it's everything you want.
I'm gonna cut Craig off today.
I'm an older guy, and the Power Rangers just didn't resonate with me. That's just my age thing. It has nothing to do with whether it was solid or not.
Yeah, so with that series, I would say you would have to have a little bit of the baggage of the Turtles and the Power Rangers to go into it to kind of understand some stuff. But at the end of the day, it really is just an action adventure with like pop culture icons. So gotcha. I don't think it would be any different than, walking into something with, the amalgam stuff where Superman and Captain America team up.
Right.
Like, as long as you have a little bit of cultural baggage, you'll have a good time with it.
So that sounds like Saturday morning
right,
cartoons as a really little kid to me.
Exactly.
So I'm about that.
Yeah, I loved it. And then last but certainly not least, and this is a little bit of a look to the future. Thanks to our good and dear friends at Ahoy Comics, I got to read a little advanced review copy of Billionaire #1 and
Billionaire Island.
Billionaire Island #1. Sorry, and let me just tell you, when this book comes out
next week,
it is. Yeah, I imagine somebody else that's gonna be on their list. I can't wait for people to get their hands on this book. It is everything you want in a Mark Russell book. It is fun. It is witty. It obviously is satirical, and it's got teeth. So it's just a good time. And again, I want to send a thank you to our wonderful friends and semi-sponsors. They don't send us money; they send us reading material, which is just as good as money, if not better, at Ahoy Comics. So that was my short stack. What you got this week, Craig?
I read 2 vampire books to start with. Redneck's #26. Image Comics, Donny Cates, Lissandro Esterin, and D. Kenneth, I think is how you say her name. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, this book just continues to blow me away. If you are a fan of Donny Cates' Marvel stuff, do yourself a favor and pick up Redneck, because it's the best he is in everything.
I was going to say it's 80% better than most of his Marvel stuff.
Yeah, and opinion. It's a huge reveal in this book that I'm not going to spoil for anybody, but really interesting tie into the mythology of vampires. Killadelphia #4, which I'm sorry I didn't write down the publisher. It's right there. It's Image. Another fantastic vampire book that's taking place. Rodney Barnes, Jason Sean Alexander, and Louis Nicht, I think is how you say his name, NCT, or Luis Nicht. Anyways, it's a fantastic book. Anytime you have John Adams is the bad guy vampire, it's amazing. So, and then I read Sex Criminals #27 by Image Comics, Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. This book is ramping up towards the end. This is the final story arc for this book, and just been fantastic series all the way through. This issue did not disappoint.
Nice. I was wondering how that was going to feel once it got back.
Yeah, it feels like they never missed a beat. It's just picking up the story. If you are reading it, monthly or whatever, because it's been so long, you may want to go back and read like the last couple of issues leading into the latest 2 issues, just so you kind of have a feeling as to what happened to get you back on pace. But yeah, really good. Didn't miss a beat at all. But those are 2 of the, better creators out there anyway. Yeah. So.
Awesome. All right, Matt. Last but certainly not least.
So we let him go last and we don't cut him off.
That's right. Yeah. He's the top pancake on the short stack.
All 3 of my books are from Marvel this week, starting with X-Men Fantastic Four #2 by Chip Zdarsky, Terry Dodson, a whole lot of inkers.
Oh, yeah. It was weird, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of inkers. Yeah. There must be a reason. And Laura Martin. This book's great, man.
Oh, my God, it was so
it's
good.
So good. I mean, there's so much in this book that's just for me. I don't know how Zdarsky figured it out, but you had the X-Men, you had Doctor Doom, you had the Fantastic Four written well.
And at least 2 Star Wars quotes.
Star Wars quotes.
It was fantastic.
Wolverine got cut up on the thing. It was awesome. That's a warning, big boy, as he opened him up. It's awesome. So good. Then Sue Storm just got freaking Omega, dude. That was amazing. That book is fucking great.
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, it's really good.
So good.
Again, just an argument that Zdarsky should have been put on Fantastic Four.
I don't know what this guy shouldn't be writing right now. If you
kind of agree.
Also, I read the Fantastic Four Grim Noir #1 by Jerry Dugan, Ron Garney, and Matt Milla. This was weird.
See,
I haven't read it yet, so I'm plugging my ears.
I didn't actually get this book. You got the only one off the shelf, so I was unable to get it.
Yeah, why it was called Grim Noir was a little confusing to me because it wasn't a noir story. It was weird to see Ron Garney's art style drawing the Thing in this universe, because his art style is just associated with just a rough, dark atmosphere, and seeing the Thing and drawn that way was unusual. It wasn't bad, it's just unusual. But not what I expected. I expected a crime noir.
Right.
Not what you're going to get. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I'm not recommending you don't read it. I'm not knocking it. It's just not what I was expecting at all.
It took a left turn on you.
It was really weird, especially coming from Jerry Dugan. I didn't see him. Yeah, I didn't see this kind of story coming at all. Thirdly, Punisher Soviet #4, Garth Ennis, Jason Burrows, Guillermo Ortega, and Nolan Woodard. This was really cool, of course. What this issue reminded me of is why Garth Ennis excels at these kinds of stories, because of his very in-depth war history study and reading. And he writes Punisher stories with that in mind. So in this particular issue, Frank and his counterpart ambush some Russian mobsters, and they do so in a military type. These Russian mobsters are ex-Soviet special forces people, and they ambush them with that in mind. And it just makes for a very compelling read with that kind of specific writing. I mean, like the last Punisher series that was out, that wasn't military at all. I mean, it was a street vigilante type aspect. But when Garth Ennis writes this character with that ex-military background in mind, it makes it a hell of a lot more compelling.
Yeah.
And there's two more issues of this series left.
This is a series that was written specifically for you.
Yes.
You talked about Fantastic Four X-Men being written for you. This book specifically is all Matt.
Another one.
Speaking of Garth Ennis, have you read his book, Sarah from TKO?
No.
So I just bought the 6-issue set because what TKO does,
I know.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I haven't bought it.
Okay, gotcha. So what they do is they release it. You can either get it in the trade paperback form, or you can get all 6 issues at once. And you really can't get it through comic shops. You have to kind of go outside it. But I took a little trip to a different comic. I cheated on Kapow this week. I took a trip to a different comic shop. We had another one open up called Retrograde Comics over in Little Rock. And they had the little box set there. So because I wanted to support this local comic shop, I picked it up. Not a bad price. Shout out to James and Misty, who are the proprietors of that shop. When I'm done reading it, I will bring it to you.
I would like to read that story. Sounds very compelling.
Yeah, I mean, it's about a female Soviet sniper, and it's Garth Ennis.
Another right up Matt's alley.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for you to get to read that more so than I'm excited to get to read it, even though I think it's going to be great. But I think it's made, like, again, a book that's right up your alley.
Sweet.
Well, all right, that's where we are at in our readings. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of what all of us are into and what all of us like to peruse in our comics reading as we go through it. But are we ready to get down to business?
Yeah.
All right, let's get down to business. As usual, we have a book of the week that we picked up this week, and it is a book that it is fresh off the stands. It came out this past Wednesday, and it is by Dark Horse Comics, which I don't know that we've roundtabled a Dark Horse Comics in a little bit.
It's been a while if we have.
Crone was the last one.
Yeah,
wasn't
I think
it?
so. So it's cool to revisit the Dark Horse again. And this book is called Hidden Society, Hidden Society #1, and this is by Raphael Scavione, Raphael Albuquerque, with Marcelo Costa and Bernardo Bryce or Brees. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I have to reach out and find out.
Yeah.
and see what that's about. But before we dig into this book, I'm kind of curious what you all thought about it. We'll start with Matt. What did you think about it? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Thumbs sideways.
Yeah. Sideways.
Sideways?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Did you?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it.
Nice.
See, I really loved it.
Did
this
you?
was right up my alley.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm kind of with Matt on this one. I thought it was. I Thumb sideways. It's not a bad book at all. I wasn't in love with it. Loved one aspect of it a lot. Was kind of lukewarm on another aspect of it, and we'll get into that, and we'll unravel these things in our minds. Yeah, see what's going on. So this book opens up. First thing, I'm going to take you back in time a little bit. We're going to go back to the wonderful world that was 1979 and what appears to be New York. So you've kind of got this seedy bar. Yeah, it's getting ready to closing time. It looks like a place that ne'er-do-wells would hang out with, and in fact, that's exactly what's happening. These guys are sitting around there having a little card game, and you can tell, like, two of these guys are not having a good time. One of them is having a really excellent time, and he's just kind of taking all their money. And so the other guys don't really know what's going on, but that's what kind of world this is. And he's obviously cheating. I mean, he's obviously got cards up his sleeves. Well, so they're sitting there doing their thing. The door opens. It's this woman kind of saunters in, and almost in a weird Western-esque type garb. And she gets up to the bar, sits down, orders a drink of some really shitty whiskey, and she's talking to the bartender, kind of ignoring what's going on behind her. And he's like, we're getting ready to close. She's like, I just need one drink. That's really all I need. I didn't come to this place for a good time. And so he gets her drink. Like I said, really, really, like, we're talking about under the bottom shelf of the whiskey. Not good. And he's like, yeah, nobody orders this, but why are you doing
why are you doing this to yourself?
Take this.
She orders Old Crow, right?
Yeah. This is not top shelf. And she pulls out this journal, and as she's sitting there talking to the bartender, she's like, "Hey, that guy over there, the one that's obviously cheating and kind of a card shark. Is his name Ricky by any chance?" And he's like, "Yeah. How do you know him? He's kind of a shitbag. Don't want to get hooked up with that guy. He's not a good. I mean, at least he pays for his drinks. That's about all I can say about him. He's not necessarily a good dude." She's like, "Oh no," and she opens up her journal, and there's an entire page with his name, Ricky Bassano, on it, and so you can tell she knew what she was doing. She walked in here with a plan. So the card game wraps up. Obviously, the guys get a little pissed because he's cheating. They meeting of the minds decides that they should probably just stop playing this game. And they think about, for a minute, kind of going at him, except he's packing. He's got some heat to him. So they're just like, yeah, it's not worth their life. Like, just fuck it. It's just money. We can go make more. And so they walk out. Well, just to add the icing on the cake, this dude is totally a creep. Like, totally has a Me Too story somewhere in his background. So he notices lone woman at the bar and just decides he's going to go make his move because he's just made a lot of money off these other two guys. And just skeezy. Like, he feels slimy. To me. And so, but she plays along with it. She kind of takes him outside, and they're outside, and I think it's the Brooklyn Bridge in the background. And, he's doing all the things. He's trying to be suave, trying to be smooth, just trying to get her to come home. Does the whole thing where he grabs her jaw and is like talking to her and letting her know, letting her know that he's in charge of the moment. And then her eyes glow red. And it just, like, this power seeps out of her eyes. And she's just like, fun. I was expecting kind of a fatality, and that's exactly what happened. She leaves this dude dead in the dirt, just kind of done. You don't know who this woman is. Never says her name. She just walks away from a body, which is kind of what I would do if you found a body. Just walk away, especially if you made the body. Don't do that. It's called murder. I learned about that with the week in law school. Did you know that's illegal? Yeah.
Was that in that Introduction to Law book that Craig mentioned?
Introduction to Law 101.
Don't murder. It's wrong. But while all of this is going down, while all of this is happening, a few blocks away, we got a little woman walking home. And she's kind of a cool looking chick. She actually is blind. She's got glasses on. She's got her seeing eye dog, and she's just minding her own business. The dog's name is Ozzy, which means she's obviously got great taste in music. And she's walking down a back alley. And from behind her, more skeezy characters show up, and these dudes are, they're greasers. They're I mean, pretty much. That's S.E. Hinton could have wrote these characters in. They're looking for some socias to punch or something. They're leather jackets, no shirts, and they're sneaking up behind her in this alleyway. And you just know these are the type of guys who have a switchblade, and they're either going to stab you or break into a West Side Story dance routine. You're not really sure which. But they kind of,
you're a jet, you're always a jet.
start snapping. They're gonna rob her. I mean, this isn't hard to figure out what's happening. They kind of corner her, and the dog starts growling, and she's just like, "Oh no!" And on her shirt, she's wearing a pendant, and it's this big gold pendant that's got a lion on it. And as these guys, like I said, they whip out a switchblade, and she's just like, "Oh, here, you can have this." And she grabs her coin, and she says some Latin, and the coin starts glowing, and then pop, out of nowhere, all the lights around start exploding, just kind of blow up. And it gets dark, and the next thing you know, all these dudes, Ponyboy and his friends, are like laid out on the ground.
Ponyboy is the good guy.
Oh, you're right. He stayed gold. What was his one shitbag dude's name?
Biff.
Yeah, it was Biff. Well, Biff was a Soch. He was the Soch. He wasn't a greaser. There were bad greasers in that story, but not Ponyboy. Ponyboy stayed gold. Anyway, not this story.
It pretty much portrays the Soches as being the bad guys.
Oh, they were 100%. Yeah. But also the other greasers were. I mean, there were some. Greasers.
There were some greasy greasers.
Yeah,
but,
that's what I'm saying. These are the greasy greasers, and now they're laid out. They got knocked the fuck out. Who'd they get knocked the fuck out by?
You got knocked the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. They got knocked the fuck out by this little demon creature that looks like a little tiny goat with wings. And he's freaking awesome because as soon as he gets done, he whips out a cigar. Where do you keep the cigar? Who can say? I don't know. But his name's Orcus. And obviously he was channeled through this coin, kind of like a genie, a djinn, so to speak. And he calls her master. And obviously she kind of controls what he's doing. He protects her. And, you know, they have a little back and forth action, but all of a sudden, like the alleyway and everything starts to glow green, and kind of a portal opens, and this figure pops up, and he kind of looks like a Sikh, if you can imagine, an older Sikh, white beard, head wrap, and he knows Orcus. He's like, hey, long time no see, and Orcus is like, oh fuck this guy. They've got a history there, and strangely enough, the blind woman can see him, not the way that you and I see, more of a. She can see his aura, his energy, something like wherever he's at, the location at, she can see the mystical energies that make him up. And he's like, I know you can see me clear as day, but not like other people do. I need you to come with me. And she does. She's like, hey, tell me more about what's going on. Obviously, she's got a pet goat demon genie, so she's used to weird things happening.
Pet goat demon genie.
That's what I named him.
I need more of those in my life.
He's really freaking cute.
Would be handy.
Great character design. And a few hours later, we're going to meet yet another character, and this character is a young, call him stage magic performer. He's a young guy. Yeah, he's named Jadu. He's obviously got a little bit of a reputation. He's getting ready to do a big trick. He's got an audience. They got the stage set up, and he's going to make the bridge that I was talking about earlier. I think it's the Brooklyn Bridge. He's going to make it disappear. But this isn't real magic. This is stage magic. Like he's asking about, is the mirror set up? Did they get everything changed out? Like he's going to do this big, Vegas level experience. When they make like things like the Eiffel Tower disappeared.
Yeah, douchebags.
Yeah. Right. No, you're right. I had to think about it.
Some of them more so than others.
And
douchebags.
I'm sure the stage musicians who listen to our show are good people. And if they're there,
they're not. Those people don't listen to
I kind of want them to, if they could. Well, as he's getting ready to do this, and again, this is a kid. Like it doesn't say how old he is, but he's very young. He's in his trailer. He's looking at his mirror that has all the little lights about his vanity, and he's trying to gear himself up. Well, you remember that Sikh that just popped up with Orcus, the demon goat genie and friends?
Him.
Yeah, him, that guy.
Yeah.
This wizard shows up in his mirror, and is just like, I need you to listen to me. And obviously this was unexpected. This is not like an everyday occurrence. And he said, like, the wizard says something to Jadu in a language that nobody knows. I don't know it. You don't know it. The letterer in this book did a really great job of making up a language and just putting some stuff down there. It was really cool. But then the wizard disappears, and this kid's like, did somebody just feed me mushrooms? Because it is 1979 after all. Like, somebody might have slipped the kid something. He's like, that was fucking weird. But I can't stand on this. I got a show to do. The show must go on. So he goes out on the stage, and he's gonna make this bridge disappear. And he says his magic words, and he gets everything lined up, and exactly 0 things happen. The bridge doesn't disappear. The guy in the back's like pushing the button that's supposed to make the mirror do the thing, and it's not working. And like he's getting laughed at, so he gets very frustrated. Things are not going right because he's going to grow up to be an asshole, as Matt said. Like his
I want this.
Not all magicians are assholes.
I want this very thing to happen so bad in real life.
Billy's future husband is a card musician.
A card musician?
Magician.
No, we're not talking. I want to clarify this. This is important.
Things, but yeah.
We're not talking about sleight of hand magicians, which is I'm
David
talking about people that make
David
a 2019 Buick disappear. Right. I'm talking about those dicks.
Okay. Yeah,
David and Chris Angel. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck Chris Angel.
He scares me.
Oh,
He's got shills in that they pay everybody in the crowd.
Oh, that doesn't surprise
Not to
me.
go off on a tangent, but yeah.
I mean, but that's what we're looking at here.
I would love to be in that crowd then. If they're going to pay me, let's do it.
I actually have a friend that his dad was in one of the crowds, and they paid him to be all awe-inspired while they could actually see what was going on.
Hey, look, if I had any moral hindrances about people paying me to lie, I wouldn't be becoming a lawyer. Like, obviously, that's something I'm okay with. But so again, this messes up. It's not working out right. He gets very frustrated, and he starts repeating the words that the magician in the mirror said, and the bridge disappears. Like, for reals, not for play. It just goes away. And he can't figure out how to break it back. And everybody's like, okay, yeah, the magic worked. Now make it reappear. And he can't. So he freaks out. Like, the dude just made a piece of giant architecture that is world-renowned disappear into the ether. Can't fix it. So he runs to his little trailer where the mirror was, and like he's sweating, and the magician reappears, and he's just like Jadu, and he pulls him through the mirror where we have the rest of the crew is sitting there waiting on him. Obviously, what is happening? They are forming a little coalition, forming a gang, getting the team together, and this is kind of freaked out. The kid's like, hey, this is weird, but there's some history there again, and the magician turns out knew Jadu's grandpa. And Jadu's grandpa was actually a real magician. He was kind of like
not an illusionist.
Yeah, not sleight of hand. There's no prestidigitation to this. He was an actual wizard.
That was a lot of syllables in one word.
Prestidigitation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's sleight of hand.
Yeah.
It's one of those big words.
Yeah.
Didn't learn that in Law 101. Knew that from other places. But the kid's like, my grandpa was a joke. He was a laughing stock of the family. How? Like, what do you mean you knew him? Like, he ran away? And he's like, no. Well, you all thought he disappeared. He was actually saving all of your asses, and I have a lot of respect for him. So shut your fucking mouth. Which is not really what he said, but that's what he was saying.
Close enough. Yeah.
You can kind of see that. But they're not done getting the team together, because as they're trying to figure out what's going on, the wizard's like, "Hey, we still got one member of the party. Haven't met them yet. They should be arriving any minute." And our girl from the very first of the story walks in with a 6-gun and just like, "What the hell's happening?" And now our team's going to get together, and everybody can look forward to the second issue to see what's going on.
They have to save the world.
They have to save the world. It's very much a getting the team together book. So I'll let the folks that really, really love this book and enjoy this go first, because I don't want to diminish anything, and or just set the wrong tone. So you guys talk about it and tell everybody why you loved it, what it was about it that really, really got you.
You want to go? I mean, I enjoyed the story. I thought the art was good. I love the tones and the colors. For a getting the team together type story, which, a lot of these books first issue tend to be, I thought it was done pretty well, and I like the magic aspect of it and that sort of thing. So that's what kind of tied me to it. I think I like where the story's going more so than I actually love this issue. Okay. Yes. If that makes sense.
Yes, I have an excitement to see what's coming out from it. I really did enjoy even getting the team together. I know some of them can be iffy how they're done, but this one I thought was fun. It didn't feel like it was a forcing of trying to merge the stories together. To me, it felt like it flowed pretty well going through it.
And we know that, two of the team members are jerks, apparently. So, it's always interesting, because it seems like the kid is kind of a dick. And the other one is a murder woman, but we don't know why she murdered the dude. So
a murder woman.
I'm
That's
really
my
curious
favorite class of character.
where the book goes.
It's a new D&D class.
Yeah,
like her book, Mercy's book.
Yeah.
Like what its story is. Are the names pre-written in there? Do they kind of show up?
Yeah, is it Death Note-ish type thing?
Yeah.
That's one of the aspects that I actually thought was really cool, in the fact that she's kind of got this preordained list of people. Because at one point, and this is, again, a spoiler for everything, but she opens up and the wizard's name is in there. So, like, I appreciated the breadcrumbs in this book. And I kind of like you guys, I'm excited about where I think it's going to go. To me, the strongest aspect of this book was Albuquerque. Like, Raphael, Rafi is a beast. Like, he's
a hell of an artist. So.
I loved his character designs. His sequentials are just on point. The facial expressions that his character has, all of them, you can kind of, even if there wasn't a buildup of character, you would kind of know this person. There's almost a universality to the way that he shows his expressions. Like our blind woman, she's a friendly type of person. She's probably a take no shit woman, but she's personable. And she's somebody who kind of just rolls with the punches, and she's going to be sassy and witty, but she's also going to be somebody that, like, she's not a hard woman. Whereas your cowgirl is.
Yeah.
She's a razor. I mean, she's a razor with a jagged edge. She's icy. She's dangerous. And
then the kid magician comes off as kind of a spoiled kid that kind of fell into this because of who his grandpa was, and you're going to do it my way type kid.
Well, see, I actually got a little bit of a different, all of that, but with a different take on it. He's a child celebrity, on some level. Like, he's somebody that was, like you said, he
fell into it because of who his grandpa was. Yeah. That's all I mean.
But it's not something that he really asked for. He's just trying to do what he was always supposed to do. On some level, he's both proud of and ashamed of his familial legacy. Because it's not necessarily, like, you can tell in the trailer, he doesn't really want to be there. He's just kind of doing what he's supposed to, but he also wants to do the best he can.
And he calls his grandpa a whack job.
Yeah.
So
a fraud.
Yeah, fraud.
So he's trying to capitalize that on it.
An illusionist calling another one a fraud. That's
but it's all part of the show. And people, I assume the majority of people, when they go to a thing like David Copperfield or Chris Angel, they know it's bullshit. They know it's fake. They're there to see the trick get pulled off. They're asking you to lie to them.
Yeah, you're there. You want to believe in the illusion,
right?
Maybe not Matt.
Matt's giving me.
The cynic.
I just think that's interesting. Why people go to a Chris Angel show, I've yet to figure out, but that's an interesting take on it.
So I've never been to a Chris Angel show, but I did go see David Copperfield when we went to Vegas in my honeymoon. And it really is, for me, Roger was just like, hey, let's go see this show. He just wanted to be entertained. It's the veil of mysticism. It's the idea of it that you can't see the strings. That they're are going to do these things.
Somehow. They're tricking your mind. It's a trick.
Yeah,
but they're tricking your mind.
And it's just that, like, you go to a bad version of that, and how it's the wonderment of how are they doing this, and how are they making my mind think this is happening that way. It's the same thing that comics do. It's a veil of disbelief. It is. It's a suspension of disbelief.
I think I just had a stroke.
For those of you that can't see it, because this is not a visual medium, Matt's over here twitching in his chair.
Is it not? Is it not a suspension of disbelief?
It is. It's just another form of entertainment, and you go into it wanting to be tricked. If you're into that sort of thing, if you're not going to go to that show.
All right, Matt, go.
So I would bypass the Copperfield show, and I would go to the Penn and Teller show. That's what I would
Penn
do.
And Teller too.
That kind of show I would really dig. And no, I really, really do appreciate sleight of hand type stuff, but it's this douche. All I can see is the hair metal when I watch David Copperfield perform. I'm like, this is like,
oh yeah,
this is like Cherry Pie, by Warrant version of magic is what I'm seeing.
And it may be, but you also got to remember, Warrant sold out stadiums for a little bit. Like,
I know people show up to these things.
People want that.
Yeah.
And it's there's judgment.
I felt like you're agreeing with me right now.
No, I am. I'm saying, like, different people go for different reasons, but at the end of the day, it's an entertainment. Like, we all find value in different forms. Look, some people like Nickelback. That's a character flaw.
My
but
wife
they do.
likes Nickelback,
and I love Stephanie. I just disagree with her choice of liking Nickelback. That's really the only thing I disagree with her on. So
Matt's having another stroke.
So many things I hate mentioned so closely together.
The episode where Matt dies.
No, he won't stroke out. He'll be fine. But
we have some aspirin.
Getting back to the story in itself, one of the issues that I had was the formulaicness of the book. Like, it really did kind of took, like, it felt and again, I'm not a writer. There's like these guys are way more honed into the craft than I am. But it felt like they started with a blank outline, with here's how you do a coming together comic, and kind of just hit all the marks that they needed to. I would love to have had and again, you can't judge it by what's not there in a sense, but I would love to have a better idea of who the big bad. Like, I have no idea why the team is being formed to do something other than maybe this guy just wanted to have a tea party, or maybe there's an end of the world event. Like, there's nothing, there's no reasoning behind these characters coalescing that we've gotten in this first issue, and I would have liked to have had a taste of that, to see something.
Well, I don't think that's a fault with the book, though. That's a choice that the writer probably made.
For sure. Yeah, that, for me, I'm saying this completely subjective.
Yeah, got it.
That took away from
hooking you.
Exactly. Other than that, like I said, there wasn't any major.
Fair enough. I do think that getting a team together, if you've ever DM'd a Dungeons and Dragons game, for instance, it's one of the hardest things to do. You either have to just say, oh, this team's always been together and they're a group, or you have to find a reasonable way why they come to. It's a hard thing to do as a storyteller.
Yeah.
So, it's not my favorite stories that coming together. It's really, and too many first issues fall into this trap, but again, for me, it's more of the excitement of where the story's going. I think I'm going to like the story.
So I have a theory kind of on that. So and this is, I think, inherently one of the, I don't want to say problems, traits or tropes of now that we write for 5-issue trade paperbacks in the industry. I think this story was probably written and drawn as one giant piece, and they found a breaking point, which they plan it like we're going to do 22 pages.
Yeah, how do we get the 22 pages to be our breaking?
Give point? A natural break on that, but I think that the introduction to this story is the first 2 issues, and I think that's going to give you your biggest taste to what's happening.
Yeah, but definitely the next issue you're going to have an idea of where the story's going.
Yeah. I also think as far as the exposition and the explaining of things, I know Raphael Scavone is Latinx. Raphael Albuquerque definitely is Latinx. These are Spanish-speaking individuals. There were some things, as I read through this the first time, there were some weird linguistic things that kind of hit me. I'm like, oh, that doesn't flow naturally, and it's because the book was originally written in Spanish and it was translated.
I did not know that, but I didn't catch that.
I didn't either.
Yeah, there were a few spots, and
you're letting your degree.
No, it's not a knock
in creative writing.
Just,
no, I'm playing with you, man.
But I think that in its natural language, in the natural language of the writers, I think the exposition would have flowed a little bit better. Obviously, that things get lost in translation, and I don't think anything major was lost. I think it was just a hiccup because you're reading something through a lens, and with that you have to, maybe editors could have picked up on a few things a little bit better to translate them. But I still think it was really well done. I would have liked to have seen a more whole picture, WHOLE. Whole picture of what the story is going to be. But none of that really matters at the end of the day to me, because Raphael Albuquerque's art and the colors by Marcelo Costa just blew me out of the water.
Yeah, the art's fantastic in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never read a Albuquerque book that the art wasn't fantastic in.
No, because he's
amazing.
He's awesome, and he's one of those figures that I don't understand is not on more things that we see. There was one spot, and it was in the Jadu when you're first meeting him that it felt a little weird to me. I was like, this doesn't seem in sync with the rest of the book, and I realized that was a choice. Like, again, like Matt said, it's not a flaw, it's a choice he made. He drew things a little bit different to give you a little bit of a feel that was different. It's just, and when you realize that was a craft aspect of it, it's just like, shit, like this dude is
Well, I do agree with what you said. This book was written for a trade paperback. But that's where the industry's going now. It's all written, especially the indie publishers. It's all written for the trade paperback now. They just break it up so they can sell the floppies. to those of us that would prefer to read the floppies versus the trades. So, I mean, it's, maybe you need issue 2 to have a full judgment on the book.
I mean, at the end of the day, you gave me a Billy Goat-esque genie floating demon goat thing, and it drinks Jack Daniel straight from the bottle. So, like, this is the hero.
Cigars.
This is the hero of the story, kids. This is who. This
It's
is
the Wolverine of this story.
This is the genie that I not deserve, but I need. So I will probably end up picking up the second issue just to get a better feel, see where the story's going, and I'm never going to get tired. My eyeballs are made. I'm made happy by Albuquerque's art.
I'm also happy. I will definitely pick up the second issue.
What, Matt, jumping off?
Yeah, I'm one and done.
Okay,
No, I definitely will want this.
got it. Nice. As she puts a check
She
mark
points
by
at me. Please make sure I get this in my box.
Yeah.
I mean, well done. Well done all around. Again, just Raphael Albuquerque makes me happy. You have a shirt that not the one you're wearing.
I do
That's
have.
not your only.
He's got
shirt.
more than one.
You have a.
I do realize I wear a lot of Padre shirts, but they are all different, believe it or not.
You have a shirt by Raphael Albuquerque.
I do.
That was a cover that never got published.
That's right.
It was the Joker.
It was the Joker with a
Batgirl.
gun to the
yes.
head of Batgirl.
That's
and
right.
it was when they were trying to change the tone of Batgirl. Mm-hmm. And I get why they chose to not use that cover, but the reality is that's exactly how Batgirl would have responded in that instance based on previous storylines with Batgirl.
It was a tie back to something Lily mentioned earlier.
It's the killing joke.
yeah.
The fact that he had shot her and paralyzed her
Mm-hmm.
for years. If the Joker shows up and puts a gun to her head, that's the one person that would probably elicit that sort of response from her.
For sure. I bring that up just because I want, like, again, heaping praises on Albuquerque.
It's a beautiful shirt.
It's
Yeah.
a beautiful shirt. It's a beautiful piece of art.
The image is
But
great.
it speaks to his character as a person, I think, because the creators of the ongoing came to him and said, look, love this, but it's kind of the wrong tone for what we're doing. And he made the choice to pull that.
That was all on him.
Yeah, that speaks to his character as somebody who really does. And I think more cover artists need to be able to do that to interpret what's happening in the book.
Well, there was a whole lot of talk from a group of people that were calling it
Yeah.
free speech, whatever.
Right.
Again, it was his choice, and he decided to pull it. They would have went ahead and published it. They'd paid him for the art, and he's just like, no, just don't do it if it doesn't fit the tone of your book. And a lot of you talked about that. A lot of times the covers are drawn way ahead of time.
Well, and this
for
was
the book.
a variant too, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a variant. It wasn't the main cover. The covers are drawn way ahead of time, and then sometimes the story doesn't reach that point. By the time they get to the cover, they already have drawn from it, which was a issue with Walking Dead all the way through. The covers did not always match the story.
Walking Dead had issues? Did it?
They had 123 issues, I think.
All right, Lily. We'll start off with you. We're gonna give you the chair to tell us what you read this week. Tell us about something.
I did. So this is actually it's a comic, but it's more of like a graphic novel. How it reads. It was originally published in French in 2017, and then it was translated in 2018. It's called Persephone, and it's by anyone want to take a try at pronouncing that name?
Loic Locatelli Kornowski.
Okay, yes. So that is who wrote this. It was published by Archaia, but then also Boom Studios.
Well, so Archaia is Boom's OGN subdivision.
Gotcha.
Archaia publishes a lot of foreign comics, like they do a lot of bande dessinées. Judging by the name, this probably came out of Sweden, somewhere in the eastern.
I think it's French.
Is it
yeah.
French? Yeah, then it's bande dessinée. Yeah.
Yeah, French edition.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is really fun. It's a retelling of the Greek myth of Persephone, but it's not quite your standard Persephone story. Persephone is the girl. Her mother is Demeter. There is a realm of the underworld called Hades, and it draws on these similarities. It starts off with a little introduction to just how the world works of Eleusis, which is kind of like our world, and then Hades, and it's the world where everything is right, green trees, our standard world, and then you've got Hades, the underworld, which nothing grows there except for this one fruit, which looks like a pomegranate. It's the fruit of the dead. You eat it and you're stuck there. So it is really similar to the traditional Greek myth of the underworld in that sense. And these two worlds they're fighting it out. They don't get along. And there's this really big war. There's mages, which is what Demeter is. It's the magic users. She goes down there. She's the most powerful one. She's legendary after this battle, and she rescues a little baby, and that is Persephone. And she grows up, but no one knows that she's from Hades, because you're not supposed to cross worlds after this battle. You can't go there. They're trapped. They're evil. So everyone assumes that she is a mage because it's passed down through birth. So if there's ever trouble around, they're like, Persephone, cast a spell, save us. And she freezes because she can't.
Right.
She's not actually Demeter's daughter, which is the whole point of it. But no one knows that because they've set this life up that, yes, she is my daughter. Don't ask questions. And
I say that often.
Don't ask. And Demeter has to go away to a meeting. She's been called in to a meeting of the mages, and Persephone has a field trip coming up. But she's been having these really weird dreams. So she goes to stay with her mom's friend, who was also a mage with her, but she's a little bit older. She's not going to the meetings anymore. She's like, done that, I'm out. But she's been having these really weird dreams they're waking her up at night, and she's kind of asking about it, and her mom's friend, I don't remember her name. It's on here.
That's what happens to the best of
mom's
us.
friend gives her Demeter's diary and was like, this might help you find some answers you're looking for. So she starts reading it, and it's about the war and getting ready for the war that happened. And so she goes on her field trip, and she's not really thinking about it much more, and the train they're on is attacked. And suddenly they are at the gates of Hades. They're at the footsteps, getting ready, and Persephone is kidnapped. One of the warriors comes out and takes her into Hades and forces her to eat this fruit of the dead. So now she doesn't eat all of it, but her hair turns a little blue, which means you're stuck. You can't go back to the real world. You've got to stay. So her friend that was on the train with her, the train gets sent back to where it was supposed to be. And everyone's freaking out because they're like, oh my God, this is Demeter's daughter that was taken. She's going to go crazy. She's going to destroy this place. So they start working on ways to get her back. But Persephone is still having to live on her own down there. She's found a few friends. They've taken her in. Some of the people that are still walking around down there in Hades. And she kind of befriends them, but they're really concerned about that blue streak in her hair. They're like, crap, you've eaten the fruit. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? She's like, I didn't. They forced me to. So she starts working on ways to get plants to grow, because that's something that she actually did learn from her mom, was gardening and plants and herbs. You know, Persephone being the goddess of spring in Greek mythology, it makes sense that she's working on trying to get something to grow, and that's what she's made her mission. So then we just kind of follow her through and the fights, and it's just this really great retelling of the story.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
It is, yeah. It's a good-sized book. It's probably like 4 issues of a story, but it's all one story. But it was a lot of fun. It was a really great read, seeing the retelling of this story.
Yeah, I love the retelling of myths through the comic form, especially through a modern lens, is always a lot of fun. And Archaia is really good about producing stuff like that, or about bringing stuff like that to us. It's very interesting to see how these things are revitalized and brought back to life. Not that they need to be brought back to life. I mean, we're still but you're filtering it through a modern lens, and we do that with Shakespeare and stuff all the time. Like half the movies you go and watch are just retelling of Shakespeare's, with Leonardo DiCaprio on a 9mm. But to date myself, but
that was a fantastic retelling, I thought.
I need to go back and revisit that because
Matt's having another stroke.
I was a child when that came out.
What are we talking about?
The Romeo and Juliet.
I did not catch that one.
Yeah, I figured you didn't watch it with Leonardo and Claire Danes.
I haven't seen that since I was a kid, so I need to go back and revisit that. But no, and I was looking while you were talking about it and telling us about it, I was looking up some of the artwork and everything, and it's kind of got this. The art is a merger of the East and West a little bit, as most things, most French artists does. It like there are portions that remind me of animation like Kiki's Delivery Service. If y'all remember that anime, it takes a little bit of a different spin on it, almost like kind of like what Jack T. Cole did in the book that we read last week. Very interpretive lines. Expressionist almost.
Well, we were talking about the art last night when she was looking at this book, and to me it reminds me a lot of the books I read as a child that were picture books with the story in it but had illustrations in it. That's what it really reminds me of, and it's just beautifully done. The art in it's beautiful, and the color palette as well. I really enjoy.
I didn't know this book existed. Now I'm wanting to read it.
Yeah,
real bad.
Me too.
Have to check this out. Well, thank you.
Yes.
I'm going to steal that from you.
There you go. You can borrow it.
Then return it to me, and I'll read it, and then I'll get it back to her.
Nice. All right, Matt. What did you read this week?
Well,
we go from sweet to violent, aren't we?
So on the subject of retelling classic stories, got a little bit of that this week. Gonna put your thinking caps on. Ooh. A lot of artistic interpretation with this one. This comes from IDW back in 2016. Predator versus John Dredd versus Aliens. So, not to get too thinky on y'all.
I love how Matt hides these books from us.
So the writer on this series is Mr. John Layman, which I think most of us are fans of.
Oh wow!
The artistic team is Chris Moneyham, Michael Atiyah, and Michael Heisler. So when this book was coming out, there was this old high school classmate of mine just happened to be in the shop. And he's like, "What are you reading right now?" And I was naming them off, and I go, "Oh, I'm reading Predator versus Judge Dredd versus Aliens." And then I said it out loud, and I was like, "Oh God!" And I was like, "It's a lot better than it sounds." He goes, "Dude, that sounds terrible." I was like, "Yes, that's why it's so good." So then I had to go into John Layman's work, yada yada yada. So anyway, just getting right into it. The opening scene this says a few weeks ago. So this the opening scene takes place a couple of weeks in the past. We see a predator running through a wooded area at night, only to find out that he's actually injured. He stops to collect himself, and he is hit by a spear and goes down. Revealed as his attackers are 3 anthropomorphic creatures, and we discover that these creatures have attacked him for trespassing. And the creatures have a very southern dialect, which is hilarious to read. They're standing over him, and they're like, "Ain't no crime being funny looking, but there is a crime in being a trespasser." And, so
I know that guy.
Yeah. And the dialect in this is, and you find out why this is hilarious.
It's Craig's neighbor.
They're using phrases like they're communicating with other team members using phrases like 10-4, good buddy. Oh. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, it's amazing. So the leader of the creatures tells them that Dr. Reinstadt, whoever that is, you'll find out later, is going to want this predator alive to, quote, crack that crazy spaceman DNA of his. But before returning to their
compound, will end well.
Yeah. But before returning to their compound, they board the predator's ship and find, among other things, his trophy room. And one thing they take from it is a xenomorph skull. Xenomorph alien for the kids that are uninitiated. So
those don't exist.
Presently, Judge Dredd and his team of Mega City judges enter what's called a place called Isotope Gulch in search of terrorist fugitives from Mega City 1. Isotope Gulch is in the Alabama region of the atomic wasteland, collectively known as the Cursed Earth. If you're not familiar with Judge Dredd, the Cursed Earth is basically the area in the United States outside of the mega cities that's been basically the leftover landscape that was damaged by the atomic war. These creeps, as Judge Dredd calls them, that he's looking for, follow a robot messiah known as Archbishop Emoji.
Emoji?
Yeah.
When did this come out?
2016.
Oh, okay. Not too long ago.
Yeah. All of this Archbishop Emoji's followers have smartphone emojis branded into their foreheads. One of the followers tells Dredd that they saw them coming and the Archbishop fled into the Alabama morass. And there's this hilarious image of this robot with an emoji face and a Pope hat on a motorized unicycle, and it's just LOL, LOL, LOL as he escapes. So the locals tell Judge Dredd that anybody that goes into this area never comes out. But Dredd, of course, is undeterred and commits to pursue his fugitive. Flash to the interior of what appears to be a laboratory, and here we see Dr. Reinstadt, whom has the captive predator. He calls himself a geneticist supreme and tells his captive that it is he who created the anthropomorphic creatures that captured him. Dr. Reinstadt has taken the DNA of the xenomorph skull and cloned a face sucker, which he is attempting to attach to the captive predator's face, while exclaiming that his great anticipation of the result. He's interrupted, however, when he is informed that the security cameras have picked up some more trespassers, and the live feed of the security system shows two groups of trespassers, the Judge Dredd crew, and a small group of predators. And that's where issue 1 ends. So this book captures the spirit of 2000 AD very well. Something that in Judge Dredd's history, you have this very cold, hard-ass character surrounded by absolute ridiculous other characters. The most famously in the original Cursed Earth story, which was edited out after original publication, was called the Burger Wars. And that's where two huge groups of people in Mega City 1 were going to war over the McDonald's hamburgers team and the Burger King hamburgers team.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was incredible. So, yeah, that was a war that was going on in Mega City 1 during the original Cursed Earth story.
I wonder if they had to cut that out just because for licensing purposes.
They had to cut it out. Yeah, Burger King and McDonald's objected to that. And people murdering each other wearing... No. Yeah. So, John Layman really did a good job of capturing the ludicrous kind of humor, which feels very English. And this, Judge Dredd stuck in the middle of that. So this book was a lot more fun and to read than it deserved to be. And I just think it's awesome that he just owned it. He just totally owned it.
I mean, as a John Layman fan, if I would have known about it, I probably would have picked it up. As any other of those property fans, I would have ignored it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you see that if you just look at the title, you're like, what the is this? But then John Layman, I'm like, okay, I got to try this out.
I can see why you did.
It was a lot of fun.
Dude, Chris Mooningham's ridiculous.
Yeah, the art's great. The covers are by Glenn Fabry.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the covers are top notch.
Beautiful.
They got Glenn Fabry to do the art on the covers of this book called Predator versus Judge Dredd versus Aliens.
Hey, a paycheck's a paycheck.
The guy does these very lifelike artistic paintings, and he's doing them for the covers of a book like this. It's just ludicrous. So
I guess
so
Alex
English
Ross wasn't available.
Yeah, right. It's so English, man.
But I think it's one of those things like this. It's 2000 AD is still huge in English comics. I mean that it was incredibly important to all Garth Ennis, Glenn Fabry, all the Alan Moores of the world,
Grant Morrison. That's where Darren Berger got all the talent.
Exactly, and so you look at that, and I think I don't know if you'd call it nostalgia for that soft spot or what. I can see a lot of that level of artist just taking any chance to paint Dredd. And like I said, everything about this book is just win. Chris Mooningham's lines are stupid. There's one, I found an image online. There's one where they're like the xenomorphs are jumping out of the spaceship, and the people are riding elephants.
Yeah. Oh, it's
destroying them.
it's ridiculous.
That's amazing.
And I like how they're just shitting on Alabama.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love that the anthropomorphics are saying things like 10-4, good buddy. That just cracks it.
What did they the waste? What did they call it? The
Alabama morass.
Yeah, that's got to be. We're making a punk band and calling it the Alabama morass.
Alabama morass.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I have to go find this.
Yeah,
it's only.
I'm sure it's in dollar bins everywhere.
Yeah, there's only like 4 issues. Yeah, it was not. It's yeah.
I need this. I need this in my life. Craig, you follow him. I'm not doing it.
So, since we're retelling old stories, do you guys happen to remember a little event in 2005 called No More Mutant or House of M?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. When Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, the most powerful person in Marvel Comics at the time, decided that they had enough mutants, and she just said those 3 little words that depowered 1 million mutants and stopped the birth of any more when she said no more mutants. Well, our buddy Jonathan Hickman finally addresses that in X-Men number 7.
Yeah.
Of course, it's Marvel Comics, Jonathan Hickman and Lionel Francis Yu, and then you got Sonny Go doing the colors and Clayton Cal doing the letters. First of all, before you even get, I don't know what I can say about Yu's art that hasn't been said previously. It's just absolutely fantastic. Continues to be in this book. He's just a madman. I hope he stays on X-Men forever. I would be perfectly fine with that. So, at the heart of this story, it's a story of morality and mortality. Mm-hmm. And how essentially being immortal, which the X-Men are now, with their progress of rebirth and what they can do, how this can lead to some very questionable moral decisions. And, this is, if you can't die and you can now genetically modify mutants, what's the end game for the mutants? So this issue begins with Melody Guthrie, the depowered mutant Arrow from the House of M era. She is approaching her siblings, which happen to be Husk, Icarus, and Cannonball, who tell her that it is her turn for Crucible. Mm-hmm. And, of course, she has the decision to make whether she wants to do it or not. And it turns out that Crucible, as we find out later in the book, is this new ritual that the Mutant Council has put in place to give the depowered mutants their powers back. It then switches to the brother husbands of Wolverine and Cyclops talking about a family vacation. Because, that's what they do now. They go on family vacations so that Wolverine can see Jeannie in a bikini, as he puts it.
It's Cyclops and Scott in the bikini is the better.
But then this conversation leads to Scott is really bothered by what's going on with the Crucible. He doesn't know why he's bothered yet, but he's really bothered. And Wolverine is too, but he's decided to kind of give, full leeway to the council that he's thrown in. I don't like what they're doing, but I'm going to follow their lead. You just need to as well. If you're looking for absolution, go find a priest. When you're talking about mutants and priests, of course, you're talking about Nightcrawler. Mm-hmm. So Scott goes off to go find Kurt. He finally gets to Nightcrawler, and they start talking about the Crucible, and we find out that Nightcrawler too has many questions and concerns about what's going on with Crucible. This is where we, of course, learn that this is how they're giving back the powers. They're killing them and having them be reborn, and when they're reborn, they actually get their powers back. Mm-hmm. But because it's 1 million mutants, they can't just do it at once. They've got to do one at a time, so they have this ceremony. And Nightcrawler starts to tell Scott, listen, the more I think about this, the more questions it actually presents to me. And the biggest one for Nightcrawler and his faith is, hey, when you're reborn this way, does your soul come with you? We've both been reborn. Are we truly who we really were before? And Scott's like, if this isn't who I really am, then I don't want to be wrong. If this isn't right, I don't want to be wrong. And so, it kind of keeps going. And in the background of this conversation they're having, you have Melody going through we find out that she has to have a battle with Apocalypse where she fights to the death to prove that she really wants to be reborn. This is the most humane way they can kill these people, is have them have a sword battle with Apocalypse, because apparently that's proven your worth. I don't know. So as this in the background, this battle's going on, and you got Kurt. He's got these other questions that he starts bringing up. He's like, well, what if, their old mutant powers aren't enough? What if the best version of themselves is Magneto's powers? What if the better version is, I want to come back, but I don't want my old mutant powers. I want Magneto's powers. Yeah. Or why stop there? Why can't we just combine 2 or 3 powers into one? Which, of course, this ties into what happened in Hoxpox, and we know in the future, where you had these genetically engineered mutants that had multiple powers.
Yeah, the Cardinals
which, the Cardinal, of course, we get back to here in a bit, but yeah, you had these mutants that maybe they took from a little bit from this guy and a little bit from that guy and a little bit, and you basically had superpowered ultra warrior genetically modified mutants. And so what we're seeing now is Jonathan Hickman tying this back together. And this book ends, of course, with Melody, kind of getting, through the whole battle with Apocalypse, he's telling her, you really want to do this? You can stop anytime. You can remain the way you are. You don't. And, she just tells him, yeah, just fucking do it, basically. And he kills her. And so she's reborn. And then you have Nightcrawler saying, well, is this miraculous? Is this glorious? Or is it wrong?
Yeah.
And then it ends with him saying, I just need to start a mutant religion, which of course ties to the Cardinals and all of the Nightcrawlers in the future. The versions of Nightcrawler are these Cardinals that are running this religion that are anti-violent and all of these things. Hickman's really weaving this tale in just miraculous ways and tying it together. I mean, you can see that he has all of this pre-thought out in his mind.
Yeah.
And this was just an absolutely jaw-dropping issue, in my opinion. It just was fantastic. And you could read it as a standalone issue. It's its own self-contained story. Just really good, this new mythology that he's tying together for the X-Men. We've talked about it, a lot, but it's the best X-Men. It's the best of everything I've wanted from X-Men, and it just continues to grow.
So it's one of those things, and it's, he's a genius.
Yeah.
But it's, for a long time, the X-Men, the mythos of the X-Men have been stuck in the 60s and in the 80s. I think those are the two big, born eras of the X-Men. And in the year 2020, we have a lot more ethical conundrums to deal with. And I think he is bringing that to the present to deal with the, ethical conundrums of the death penalty, ethical conundrums of genetic modification, genetic testing, that they've touched on before, but they've never really done it through a modern lens because, X-Men has, for various reasons, been on the back burner at Marvel.
What we're starting to see now are the cracks that are going to tear this Krakoa nation apart, right. I believe.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to see these little fractures with what's happening with Mystique and now Scott and Nightcrawler, two of, arguably the biggest names in X-Men that are now kind of going, I don't really like what the Council's doing. Not that I don't think they're going to rebel against the Council, but you're starting to see this kind of, I don't necessarily agree with everything they're doing.
Well, and I think low-key one of the things that Hickman is doing is he's using Magneto to mastermind it. You didn't see that in this issue, but if you go back 2 or 3 issues, on one hand you have Magneto saying to Mystique, well, you don't have to follow the rules. Why didn't you just kill that person? The next issue you have him going to Logan's like, no, you can't kill Omega
Yeah, I'm
Red.
going to throw you through this
we have laws.
Portal.
So I think he's low-key masterminding something. I think you should.
Well, he's playing it to his own ends,
right,
for sure, which is Magneto's thing. And he told Charles from the very beginning, I'm going to play this game with you, but as soon as I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to stop you.
Oh, I saw some people commenting it just seemed like there's some inconsistencies there. It's not inconsistent. It's not inconsistent for Magneto.
No, it's not. There's no inconsistencies there. He's hit to him to tell Mystique you're free to do what you want while controlling Logan. That's 100% what Magneto would do. If you don't believe that, you need to go back and reread some 80s X-Men books.
Well, and it just what you said a while ago, you touched on something. You said this is the, maybe I get, this, you were joking, but this is the most humane way they can find to do it. And I don't think the point is about being humane.
No, it's about making them choose that.
They're a warrior culture for whom death no longer matters.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about, and when you have that, freedom of choice becomes the ultimate moral issue.
Well, and something we found out in the X-Force book is they can choose which memories to bring back with them, because Domino begs Peter that when she comes back, do not let them take my memories of what they did to me away from me. So they can manipulate what they come back remembering in addition to genetically there's just so many places they can go with this, and you're gonna see it.
Well, and one of the questions that I think they're setting up, and arguably they're already going down the road to, is that freedom of choice, that freedom to be. What happens when a mutant doesn't want to be reincarnated?
Yeah.
What happens when the mutant wants to die? And what are the ethics of, because you can control the memory, so do you bring them back to a space before they chose to not come back? I mean, there is a lot of ethic, and that's what Kurt keeps alluding to in this book. Is he's like, the further I go down this path, I just have more and more questions. The more I look into what we're doing here, it brings more. Which Kurt's always been the moral conscience of the X-Men, always has been. That's just his role. And he finds himself in a rock and a hard spot more often than not. And the questioning aspect of it is, that's right up Kurt's alley. That's who Kurt is. Now, one thing I was a little shocked at it, and I think it was more for pacing matters or whatsoever. I don't personally seeing Kurt in one issue deciding to abandon Catholicism. To a point, I think that that might be an arc that he would go to, but I need, and I think we're probably going to get that, but that last line, I think I need to start a mutant religion. I mean, we knew that was coming, but I don't see Kurt giving up the constraints of, not his spirituality, because he's not giving that up, but it's literally the mechanics of Catholicism. I don't see
But we don't know what religion he's bringing yet.
Yeah, that's true.
It could be a version of Catholicism tied to mutant. I mean, based on what he's seeing right now, his views have to have changed on religion anyway. So, yes, he is that staunch Catholic, grew up that, has lived his whole life that way. But I think what he's seeing is probably playing into it. I mean, I'm going to trust Hickman to flesh that out a little bit for us.
Yeah.
For sure, based on what we've seen. Every issue of this book, to me, just gets better and better and better, and it's hard to. So far, there hasn't been one issue I've read when I've been like, "Oh, that was crap," and it's all been so good.
Yeah.
And it's not just the X-Men; it's X-Force, it's Marauders, it's all of these books tying together so well. All of these, and like I said, starting to see cracks based on what's happening in all these different books. Now it's really good. I'm so excited for what the X-Men is doing right now.
One of my favorite parts about this book is the mutants that get drawn into the background. I love it. And like you said, is stupid.
Well, there's one point where Apocalypse is tormenting Arrow, before she's Arrow, when he tells her that she can't use that name because she's not a mutant anymore, that she's Melody. And he's tormenting her, and he says, "Oh, you're a Guthrie. Well, that's a big, mutant family, but you must be such a disappointment to them."
And all the while, his family's watching.
Cannonball's ready to come unglued.
Yeah, Sam is
ready. Yeah, he's in. Husk has to stop him and say, "No, this is her choice. Let it play out." But he's ready to go out there and fight Apocalypse.
Well, it's on some level, it's a slap in the face to these people who have been stopping Apocalypse from killing mutants for decades now, or decades our time, not in theirs. But to watch, and that's one of the things that Scott has such a problem with. It's not worrying about it coming back, but it's like we got to sit back and watch. Like, we've all agreed that the mutants that were affected by M-Day are still mutants. Like, they're not just humans. Like,
they wouldn't allow them on Krakoa if they weren't mutants in their mind. Yeah.
But now we have to sit and watch Apocalypse kill these people, even though we know they're coming back. And and they're not okay with this, but they are. It's a begrudging condemnation on their part that,
in an arena, like gladiators type battle, you have this going on. It's insane.
And one of the thing that you did, and I don't know if many people have realized, you only see Charles, I think, once or twice in this issue. And one time you see him is where he's watching this go down. He's watching and he looks like he's almost getting off on it. Like he's
Charles there, like is a very weird version of Charles right now. I can't put my finger on it. I've heard some people say he's Zorn. I've had, the Phantom X might be in there a little bit. People are making a lot of guesses, but this is a very weird, not seen before version of Charles.
Yeah.
The fact that he's wearing the mask the whole time, like we've alluded before, is almost like he's the maker. It's like the evil version of himself, or not. And not. It's all pro mutant, but it's a very weird. Well, he's different version.
Not only that, but he's Big Brother at this point. So, and one of the reasons he's wearing that is because he's literally monitoring every mutant in existence at all times.
Yes, he's wearing Cerebro. He knows what's going on everywhere.
He is the police state,
which is touched on in Fantastic Four and X-Men, because he's lost some of them to this island that Doom has, because he's got some dampeners going on.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. It's great. I don't know what else I can say about this book. Read it. Read X-Men. If you've ever enjoyed X-Men ever in your life and you're not reading this book, you're cutting yourself short.
Yep.
I love that X-Men's the second best book at Marvel right now. So
I mean, I love Immortal Hulk, but it's a toss-up between the two for dang sure.
I'm joking.
I had some jokes in there about Hoxpox being an event, and I let them slide. And
all right. Well, so it's interesting that you talk about Kurt and Kurt's religion and how important it is to him, because that ties in a way, to the book that I'm going to talk about this week. And that book is called Saint Young Men. Saint Young Men is a manga that came out 2008, 2009 in Japan, got brought over. It's interestingly enough, it's by a writer named Hikaru Nakamura. And Hikaru Nakamura she's a female mangaka. She's a female manga artist. And she's one of the women artists who's been able to escape the when it comes to manga, you have Shonen Jump and you have Shoujo or Show whatever, and like one is geared more towards kids, others are geared more towards girls, and her work is more for an adult audience anyway, so I think it helped. But she is writing about a subject matter that you don't see a lot of women in that culture tackle, which is religion. And what this book is about, Saint Young Men, one of the best books of last year was a book that we all loved. It's by, it was incredible. It's Second Coming. It's Richard Pace. It's Mark Russell. And it takes what happens if Jesus comes back and is teamed up with a superhero. I loved that book. And so I was kind of in the mood to read more of this. And so I was searching for other things. And Amazon or whatever algorithm hooked me up with Saint Young Men. And what Saint Young Men is about, Jesus and the Buddha.
You're opening that up from the back.
No, because it's a manga. It does it the other way. Jesus and the Buddha decide to take a little vacation from the heavens. They're floating on clouds, just doing whatever. They're kind of bros. They decide to come back and they want to live on Earth for a little bit. So they decide to be roommates. And that's exactly what they do. They rent a little apartment. They're trying to just kind of exist in the world. And in a book, like if you look at a book that Mark Russell wrote, where it really is tying into some theological aspects, it's tying into, again, moralistic leanings of what is the teachings of Christ, what would be the teachings of Buddha, yada, yada, yada. That book doesn't necessarily do this. This book revels in the mundane. This book revels in the everyday life juxtaposed with these figures who are saints. They're Christ-like. I mean, they are Christ, and they're the Buddha, and they're just trying to make it in the everyday world. And they're totally millennials. They are the quintessence of millennials. They kind of hipsters, kind of just living from moment to moment. Neither they're always worried about money. They're always worried about who's going to pay the rent. They spend their rent money on things that they don't need. Like Jesus always needs the newest laptop. He always needs that. Buddha is constantly trying to keep himself in check. He's the more practical of the two. He's afraid to let himself go a little bit. And it's just kind of their everyday misadventures told through these series of stories. On this one story, they they go out, and it's a comedy. It's a comedy comic. They go out and they are just taking the subway ride home. And they've kind of had a rough day. They're worried about paying the rent. They're worried about all these other things. And these drunk guys come on the subway with them. And they get on, and they're looking at Buddha. And this is the Buddha that's got like the long earlobes, and he's got the top knot thing happening. Just lots of stuff going on. And he's got the dot in the center of his forehead. And these drunk guys, they push the dot because they think it's the call button for their next stop. So he's just like, stop touching that. That's not for you. And so and it hurts him. Like he feels pain because of it. And he gets him to stop. Well, and Jesus is sitting in the back just dying of laughter. He cannot like handle this, and the train goes around a corner and stops a rock. The drunk guys reach up and they grab his earlobes to hang on like they're the oh shit straps. And so like it's just these things that would happen living the everyday mundane life if these characters were to come to Earth. In another story, Jesus is kind of like going about his business, dealing with life, and his stigmata kicks in. And so he just starts bleeding from his forehead because he's wearing a crown of thorns the entire time. But his stigmata kicks in and he just starts bleeding, and Buddha like starts looking at him. He's like, "Whoa, dude, you're leaking!" Like, no, people are gonna stop staring. Like, stop it! so quit. They have this other little misadventure they go on. It's New Year's, and they're supposed to stay awake for the New Year and see the rising sun. You want to see the sun rise up on the first day, and whenever Buddha...
Dude, I'm lucky to make it to midnight.
I mean, but you're also not Jesus or Buddha.
Right.
So,
fair.
So they've partied, and they don't drink. I mean, they're sticking to the ideas, the constraints of being these religious figures, but they've gone to a party, and they went to a monk. They went to a temple, and it's a Buddhist temple, and obviously Buddha like tries to like hide himself because he doesn't want these people seeing him and either A, realizing he's Buddha on Earth, or think he's being like a sarcastic asshole dressing up like Buddha and going to a Buddhist shrine. So Jesus, to help him out with this, goes and buys a kimono and a samurai outfit and is going to wear this to the temple, all the while wearing his crown of thorns. But in that tradition, they ring the bell a number of times, and Buddha's really excited because Buddha's going to ring the bell for the last time and have this experience. And he gets right up to it, and one of the monks cuts him off and is like, "No, this is only for the holiest person in the temple," which is like the head monk. And Buddha's like, "But I'm fucking Buddha." He's like, "Wait a minute, how am I going to do this?" So
how am I not the holiest person in this temple?
So he's upset about it. Like he's feeling some kind of way about it. So whenever Buddha starts feeling some kind of way, he glows, and they're constantly having to like put him in check so people won't notice he glows. And so they go back to the apartment, and they stay awake, and then what they don't realize is they've missed sunrise. Because they had the curtains pulled because of the glowing, and they get him. So as soon as he gets calmed down, they're like, "Okay, let's watch the sunrise." They open up, and it's like 9 a.m. It's like people are out on the street, and Buddha gets pissed again and just starts glowing, which starts an entire myth about the second sunrise of whatever. So he's now influenced culture in some random way. In another one, they go to a park, and there's a party going on, and kids are going on, and there's this bouncy castle. And Jesus is like, "Oh, bouncy castle, I can, like, this is gonna be fun. Let's go do this." And so Jesus starts bouncing, and he loses focus, and he makes a miracle happen. So like his crown of thorns blooms into these flowers, and he doesn't come back down to earth. He levitates a little bit, and the angels, who are all the time watching, the heavens are all the time making sure that these guys are okay. They think he's trying to ascend to heaven, so these little fat fucking cherubs like swoop down and like grab him, and they're trying to wrestle him up. So Buddha whips out a cell phone, and this is not like an iPhone, this is an old school flip phone, and he calls the Archangel Michael's like, hey, false alarm, let him go. And so they have to make the angels quit. What I love about this book, and there's a bunch of different chapters. Each chapter is kind of a one and done thing.
Cool.
It's like you can pick it up any one, and they're gonna, as long as you know the basics of the story, it's fine. But it revels in the mundane, and that's what I love about it. Again, I love Second Coming. I love these books that deal. I love what Hickman's doing, bringing these big theological issues to comics. The other hand, there's a flip side of that coin, and it's what would these people. Maybe we can put the moralizing aside for a minute and just kind of play with the mythos a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's incredibly funny. It and it stays true to these figures. Like, this is not blaspheming. I wouldn't say. I mean, on something.
I don't think Second Coming was either.
No. But like, this isn't trying to make them. Some books. If you talk about Garth Ennis, he draws the great grandson of Jesus, Humperdoop, as being the semi non-functional
inbred.
Inbred. Yeah.
This isn't doing that. Like, this is staying true to those figures. But it does it in a way that it makes you laugh at everyday life, and you see how these figures would just be good people navigating through the world. There's the funniest story in this. Jesus is a tech head. Like, Jesus, like I said, always needs the next big laptop, but he's not good at saving money. On the other hand, Buddha's been doing really, really well, and he saved 80,000 yen, and they're going to go buy something. Like, he's like, but we couldn't afford rent. He's like, nope, this is my money. I set it aside. They go to the store. Buddha's going to spend it on an $82,000 yen rice cooker. And so him and Jesus get in a knockdown, drag out argument in the middle over whether or not they should buy a rice cooker or a laptop. And Jesus gets mad and calls he calls Buddha a knothead because of the thing on his curls wrapped up. And Jesus like has a freak out because he thinks he's insulted. He's committed a sin by calling Buddha a knothead, and now the heavens will be closed to him forever. And so Buddha has to like walk Jesus back off the ledge, and it's like, no, dude, like, we're cool. Like, come on. And so they buy a cheaper rice cooker, and they go home and make rice, and they hang out and eat. It's a very refreshing story. It's
cool.
Something that I needed to read, and it was one of those, like, it just takes your minds off, and it makes you appreciate the very human relationships, because that's what the book is about. The book is about the very human relationships. Now, I've not been talking a lot about the art in this book. The art's hilarious. The art's great. It's very manga, though. It's very much of that style. There's nothing. This isn't manga in the Shintaro Kago school where they're doing neat different things. This does kind of look processed. It does kind of look like it's exactly what you think, but they play around with it. It's just fun, and it doesn't take itself seriously. The art doesn't take itself seriously. It's very expressionist, but it's just very much your basic manga storytelling. Yeah. And that's fine, because the focus is on the story, and it's not bad art by any means. Another thing that this book does, and I want to mention just before we end it, after every chapter, this manga has what they call translation notes, and it's not translating necessarily the language at all times, although there are some words that don't translate, so they use the Japanese language. But it gives you little notes about where they're at and what they're doing. So after chapter 11, you get a little note about the Sanzu River and how it relates to Buddhist tradition. Very cool. It's not translating the word, it's translating the culture for you.
They're giving you the story.
Yeah, so you get really cool little trivia things about the world through just very everyday bro adventures.
That's awesome.
Of Jesus.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Of Jesus and Buddha.
And it's a good time. So order this. You can get it on Amazon. I'm sure your local comic shop can grab it. You do have to read right to left. So, it's a manga. But it's good comics. It's good, fun comics. So check that out.
Very cool.
Well, we ready to talk about some next week real quick?
Yeah.
All right. So the way we like to close out our show each and every week, talk about New Comic Book Day. That's when the new comics come out. That's why they call it New Comic Book Day. It's right there in the heading, right there in the name. And it happens every Wednesday. See, they make it easy for you. They hold your hand. Every week, new books hit the shelves. We're excited about it. We don't know whether these books, unless, we're privy to some things, because we're cool like that. But we don't know if these books are going to be good, bad, or otherwise, but we're excited about them. Being excited about comics is one of my favorite things, even comics you hadn't read yet. So we like to give you guys a taste. We like to set the menu a little bit for books that are going to come out this next week, and we'll see how they go. We don't know, but we're excited about them. So again, we're going to start with Lily, and that way none of us takes your book.
Oh,
because Matt likes to steal books. I don't know if you know this.
I'm worried she's going to take mine.
I doubt that.
It. Okay, so I am looking forward to, this is a new series. It's a #1 coming out. Called Folklords. It is from Boom Studios by Matt Kent and Matt Smith. And its little synopsis is, from Narnia to Harry Potter, we've seen our heroes leave the real world for a fantasy world. But in Ansel's world of monsters and magic, he's haunted by visions of our world with tailored suits and modern technology. So
that haunts me too.
So I think it's going to be another kind of retelling of myths and legends, but in a more modern world.
Yes. Little
It's
point.
Matt Kent.
Yeah, it is. Well, I was going to say, point of note. I think the trade paperback is what's coming out this next week.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Folklore, I had number 1 at home. I didn't, but
Okay.
it's still worth picking up. I didn't, just it's a trade paperback.
Then
but
easier to read it
it's
all
a
together.
solid, fun series. I'm excited for you to get to read it.
Yeah, for sure.
I hate being that guy. I feel like I'm that guy. Am I that guy?
No.
You can punch me in the arm.
I mean, it just
For
said
what?
one,
For-
so and just yeah. Soft punch.
Yeah. Craig, what do you? Matt, I'll go with Matt. Matt's nervous. What are you reading this week, buddy?
Blaze Comics, Sumerian,
I knew
Queen
it.
of the Black Coast, number 1.
I did not choose it because I knew.
Oh
you
yeah,
would
was
choose
this
it.
predictable or what? This is by Jean David Morvan, Pierre Alleray, and Jason Metcalf. For the first time, Robert E. Howard's Conan is brought to life uncensored. Discover the true Conan, unrestrained, violent, and sexual. I think we're going to have some hand-to-hand violence and nipples in this. Maybe not in that order.
Now Caleb's having the stroke.
No, I'm just. What was the Alabama thing we talked about a while ago?
Alabama Morass.
Yeah, new album from Alabama Morass, Hand-to-Hand Violence and Nipples. See their hit single. I'm still curious about how they're getting. Some lawyer did his work on this contract, making sure they got to write this.
Yeah, there was some agreement because it got postponed, and then they made some agreement with Marvel to use the property. So
Yeah,
I don't think there was agreement.
just did it because.
Oh yeah, Disney is not going to agree to anything. You got to make Disney.
Well, but I mean, they had to. Like, some lawyer made sure that they didn't break or breach.
Oh yeah, no, they
copyright
did.
law.
Yeah,
So by doing this,
they were forced, not agreed.
they're pirates.
Like what's going to happen in this
Crom
issue.
is pleased.
Matt is foaming at the mouth over here over this.
At some point, he's going to start talking about like jungle fantasy.
Oh
I
no,
feel it.
No,
I feel it coming.
No, this is quality. This is quality stuff.
Violence and
Yeah, not mindless pornography. That's
No,
not what
it's
we're
not
talking
smut.
about here. Yeah, this is a queen of the Black Coast. This woman's in charge. This is Conan's like soulmate.
Oh, I'm aware.
This is
And nipples.
Read it, kids.
Craig, what are you reading this next week?
yeah, I hope I'm not still in yours, Caleb. But Strange Adventures #1.
You are not.
Tom King, Mitch Gerards, and Evan Shaner. This is something I really enjoy Tom King working on, especially him and Mitch Gerards. These 12-issue maxi series that they do, I really think that's where he shines at, or they shine at. I'm wondering if it's all going to be 9-panel or not, but hey, probably, because that seems to be their format, but we'll see. The synopsis is, after leading his adopted home to victory in a great planetary war, Adam and his wife Alana retire to Earth, where they are greeted by cheers, awards, and parades. But not all is happy and nice as it seems, as the decisions Adam made during his battles on Ron come back to haunt his family and threaten the entire DC universe.
I'm giddy.
Is it Ron or Ran?
It's a good
I've always
question.
said Ron, but
I think it's Ron. We'll go with Ron. I would say we can ask Diodato, but he's probably not answering anybody's phone calls right now.
I would imagine not.
That dude's on vacation.
Yeah, he wouldn't answer our calls anyway.
He might. You're right. No, he wouldn't. No, I am excited about that book. I had a feeling you were going to pick that one, but so I didn't. I had it on standby though in case I needed it. The book that I think everybody should go grab this next week is it's a new book. It is a new #1. It is called King of Nowhere, and it's coming out from Boom Studios. So Boom getting a lot of love this week. I'm about it. And this book is written by Maxwell Prince, drawn by Tyler Jenkins. It looks excellent. So here's your synopsis on this. Lovable, drunken lowlife Dennis awakens in the outskirts of a mysterious village called Nowhere, and this is home to a friendly populace of deformed, mutated, just left of normal citizens, and he has a bad trip. He has no memory of how he got there, but just when he starts to regain his memories, his past catches up to him, literally. What first seems like merely a bad trip quickly heightens into a drama of mistaken identities, small-town conspiracy, and high-stakes fantasy. This book had me from the cover of the first issue, which is this guy sitting on a bench, which is in the middle of a highway with his foot dipped into it like it's rippling like water, holding a balloon shaped like a carp. It sounds like an acid trip, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So I'm about it. So
nice.
King of Nowhere #1. Well, we got anything else? We ready to land the plane
Let's take this baby home.
or answer the phone? Whatever it is. There was phone call. I cut it out, but there was phone calls ringing. Well, once again, I want to thank Lily for joining us today.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yep.
It
Thank
is
you.
always a pleasure.
Yep.
You're
You're always welcome on the show.
thank
I'm
you,
going to speak
guys.
for the entire
Oh,
group.
yeah. No, we signed a waiver for that, so you get to do that. We enjoy everybody who comes to our Facebook page. We appreciate you all listening to us just kind of ramble for a little bit every week. We love it. This is, comics are dear to our hearts. We think it's collectively we just love this hobby and this medium. If you want to chit chat with us, or most of us, Matt hates the Facebook. He's on Twitter. You got to find him. Go on the search. If you find him, you earned it, and you get to talk to him. You can come to our Facebook group. We have an Instagram.
Something Red Sonja, something.
We do have an Instagram, and we have a Twitter page. Like Lily said at the beginning of the show, come see us there. If you got questions, comments, or concerns, if you want to heap praise upon Lily, if you want to applaud her presence on the show, as you should, because it was excellent, you can fire off an email to southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. Be safe as you are. If you went to C2E2 and you are coming home, don't bring the coronavirus back. Okay, thanks.
And vote.
Oh yeah, go vote. Go forth and love comics.
Woo!